Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hey, Mrs. Palos, how are you? Mr. Soares, Mr. Wolf, Miss Strunk, hello, hello. Hello, Miss Kara. Just got to see you yesterday on Zoom. Nice to see you again. If you guys have the ability to put your cameras on, I'd love to see your beautiful faces. If you can't, completely understand. And we're going to get started here in about a minute. This is definitely a training you're going to want to have a pen and a piece of paper for. And this is going to kind of be like a choose your own adventure training today. And this is a topic that is really important to me. With over 30 employees out of my two companies, my big job and big role is to take care of them so that they can take care of my clients and my students. And in order for them to be able to take care of the clients and the students, we have to have all of these systems in place in order for them to do that. And this kind of customer experience and customer journey is something I'm super passionate about. So like I said, we'll get started in about 1 minute. And make sure to have a pen and paper. You know, it was pretty crazy. You guys know, like on Facebook, you can see your memories. I think the memory section of Facebook is a little bittersweet. I get to see some of my immaturity that I had in my early 20s with posting. But I also get to see some, really important moments that I had. And yesterday, what popped up on my memories was the very first time I spoke in the martial arts industry, which was actually just 4 years ago. It feels like it was much, much longer than that. But 4 years ago, I spoke at Steven Reinstein's Market Muscles event. And I spoke on the customer journey. Now, we're going to be focusing on the customer experience, which is tied into the customer journey. But I just thought the timing was really cool that it was 4 years ago, first time I ever stepped on stage. All right, guys, we got a bunch of you in here. Awesome. Thank you so much. I am going to be consistently asking for feedback in the chat box. We have a couple of activities that we're going to do. So it's going to be kind of workshop style where I might ask some of you to share. So be prepared to hit that unmute button. But if you guys are ready, do me a favor, drop a 1 in the comments. And once I see them start rolling in, then I'll go ahead and get this party started. All right, there we go. Awesome. Let me go ahead and share my screen. As always, I'll have a keynote. We will send out the recording with the keynote afterwards. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take notes. I think that there's something that's really powerful that happens when, a thought gets out of our head or from listening to somebody and writing it down. So make sure you definitely have that pen and paper ready. All right, next level, customer experience. Let's waste no time. We will be going for the full hour. So one of the very first business lessons that I was taught by my mentor, which he actually mentioned this on a webinar we were on yesterday. And, I think the first place he probably heard it from was Tony Robbins. But Tony Robbins basically says there's only 3 things that a business has to do. It's got to get customers, got to get the customers to pay them more, and got to get those customers to pay more often. And when we really look at business and we put it in that kind of mindset, it's super simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's very easy, right? It's simple, but it might not be easy. And I'm a huge Alex Hormozy fan. He's kind of been blowing up on the internet lately. I've been following him since his gym launch days, but he says simple scales, fancy fails. And when you really think about what we're doing, right? Getting the customers to pay us more and getting the customers to pay us more often, what it really is it's the 3 R's. And this is something that Maya has been preaching for the last 2 decades. We've got to recruit, we've got to retain, and we've got to get revenue. Now, more often than not, the metric that people love to share in our martial arts industry usually has to do more so with the recruiting, right? It's the number that we like to kind of beat our chest I've got X amount of students. And it's usually the number one question that consultants get is, how do I get more clients, right? We see this in the martial arts industry. Obviously, I'm in the agency industry as well. I'm in a mastermind where I'm a member mentor. And it's the number one question that people ask. It's just, how do I get more students? And while it's an important part of the puzzle, it's not all of the parts of the puzzle, okay? So some of the mistakes that I'm seeing school owners consistently make is all of their focus is on new clients. Why? It's sexy, right? Like talking about student value, talking about your attrition rate or how many students you retain doesn't sound as sexy as I signed up 30 new students. I signed up 40 new students, okay? And if we shift our mindset on this, you actually probably don't need to be signing up as many students as you think if we were able to improve the experience that our current students are getting. The other mistake that I see school owners make is that they don't understand the customer journey and how this affects what your students are going through, what their families are going through. Every business has a customer journey. And what I think happens as owners is that we are so far out of touch with what they're going through, because think of the last time you were a student in a martial arts school. And the last time I was, like actually a student was, when I was going up through the ranks at my jiu-jitsu instructor school. And then prior to that, when I was training at a Junior Institute of Taekwondo school. So we can just kind of be so far away from those steps that they are going through, okay? And then another mistake that I see is just they're not reinvesting in the customer experience. If you guys have a marketing budget, do me a favor. If you have a marketing budget, put yes in the comments. Go ahead and you could put a Y, you could put yes if you have a marketing budget. Thank you, Mr. Onoski. Thank you. Oh, I see a lot of yeses. That's great. Now let me ask you, what is your budget for retention? What is your budget for the customer experience? Once they're already a client with you, how are you reinvesting into them? And some of you, maybe you're doing like member appreciation days. That would be an example of reinvesting back into your students, right? But this is a mistake that I see a lot of school owners make. They don't reinvest back into the students, and it's really just a mindset shift that we need to have, okay? So ultimately, we want to improve the experience. And when we do that, we need to do it at every single stage, from that very first phone call, all the way to black belt, all the way to multiple degrees, all the way to potentially eventually, being on your leadership team or a part of your staff. And if we can do that, we're ultimately going to increase client value, which was one of the things that a business must do in order to be successful. And, it's really interesting, this kind of student value, client value, because there are schools that have 100 students that make more than schools that have 200 students, which is why it's just interesting that, so many school owners want to beat their chest about the number of students they have. And, while that's important, it's not the most important thing. And then finally, making sure that we have moments of impact to move them along the customer journey. And what I consider a moment of impact is a moment that they will always remember when they're thinking of their martial arts journey with you. And we want to make sure we have these at each stage of the journey. I know for me, some of like the biggest moments of impact was the day I got my very first stripe on my white belt. And the reason why this was so impactful is because my instructor, Mr. Cook, would award stripes after class. And for whatever reason, he brought me up at the end of class when we were bowing out of class to award my stripe. And maybe he just thought like I really deserved that, but it was one of the coolest feelings. He called me up. He had all of the other students gather around while he awarded me my very first stripe. That was a memory I'll always have, right? Also earning black belt club, winning my first tournament, getting nominated in a master's club, right? And we want to make sure that we have these moments of impact available at each stage of the customer journey, because ultimately it's just going to improve the experience that our clients have. And when you do this, when you put the experience that your prospects and customers get at the forefront of your priority list, you're going to create brand ambassadors. And we actually have a brand ambassador program at my academy, and I kind of look at my brand ambassador as VIP referral machines. And I think we'd all agree, if I put 10 Facebook leads in front of you, or I put 10 referral leads in front of you, which box of leads would you rather have? Of course, you'd rather have the referral leads, right? I mean, we wouldn't even think twice about that, okay? All right, awesome. So I want to do a quick review of the customer stages. And I've done trainings on the customer journey stages, and I've done full trainings on this, but that's not the focus. Today's the focus is the experience that they're going to have at each one of these stages. But for those of you that might not be familiar with the customer journey, I just kind of want to do a quick recap. Okay. So there are 6 stages. We have awareness, consideration, purchase, onboarding, retention, and advocacy. And I think that we would all agree that as business owners, our ultimate goal is to turn our students into advocates of our school, right? Either they're, representing our school, either they are becoming instructors or leadership, or they are becoming referral machines. And at each one of these stages, we want to make sure that the customer experience is highlighted. And ultimately, guys, the way that we do that is through communication. That's it. It's through communication. And we're going to be going over 7 different types of communication strategies, 7 that you can implement at every single one of these stages to improve the experience that they have. And I kind of want to share an experience that I had through the 7-figure agency, because I want you to see this. We're going to go through this obviously in a martial arts school, but I want you to see how this is applicable in any business. Okay. So 7-figure agency is the coaching program that I joined when I first started GrowPro to find a mentor to help me grow the business. I knew how to grow a martial arts school, didn't know how to grow an agency. So in the awareness stage, the whole reason why I found out about 7-figure is because I saw an Instagram ad for a book that the head of 7-figure agency, Josh Nelson, that's up here in the corner, that he wrote. I got targeted. How did I get targeted? Well, because my behavior online showed that I was an agency owner. So I saw that book, and guess what I did? I purchased the book. I started reading the book, and I took a picture of the book, and I tagged Josh Nelson on Instagram. And right after I tagged him, you know what he did? He sent me a DM. And he said, "Oh, can't wait to hear, what you learned about the book. Let me know if you have any questions." And that started the conversation. And of course I had questions. So what did we do? We ended up setting a sales call. And this is very interesting because the feedback that I gave him about this sales call actually caused him to change the process. When we were DMing, he said, "Let's hop on a sales call." So I booked the call, and I'm expecting to get on the sales call with, who do you think? With Josh Nelson. He was the one that said, "Let's book the call." Guess what? He was not the one on the call. And I was a little bummed out. So he reached out to me and said, "How'd it go?" And I said, "Oh, honestly, I thought I was going to be on the call with you." And immediately he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Why don't we hop on a call right now?" We got on the call. I had my credit card ready to go the second he hopped on a call. I was sold that moment. Then we moved to the onboarding stage. And I think this is one of the stages that a lot of businesses screw up. And it's because the credit card went through. Woohoo, we got a new client. Let's go get another new client. And this first kind of 90 to 100 days is so paramount in your customer's journey. So the second my credit card went through, I got an immediate email with access to an online portal. Man, one of the things that can really frustrate people is when you pay for something and then you have to wait over and over and over again for access, right? I got immediate access to the portal. A couple of days later in the mail, I got a welcome box. I got a post in the Facebook group. They sent me, "I'm building a 7-figure agency t-shirt," and they sent me a mug, and then they booked my 90-day game plan. all within the first few weeks of starting. Okay. I was hooked, guys. That onboarding stage can make or break whether or not your students are going to be retained and going to be with you for a long period of time. At the retention stage, I actually graduated. So they had different levels of the program. I graduated. I got to earn rank. It's kind of funny. They actually use like a martial arts belt system in their mastermind program based off of the revenue that you bring in. He would mail me treats in the mail for being, you know, being on the calls and sharing my story. I would get postcards. And then ultimately I became an advocate because they asked me to speak and share some of my wins on stage. They invited me to be a member mentor. And then I ultimately ended up referring a law firm agency to their program. So I just kind of wanted to break this down that it doesn't matter what the type of industry or business is. Every business has a customer journey. And I wanted you to kind of see how this is relevant in a different industry as well. Okay. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to think about next level customer experiences that you've had with another business. So kind of rack your mind right now. It sounds like Lance said, had same experience recently with Todd Hartley of Wirebuzz, DM-wise, that is. Got it. Awesome. I'll share kind of a funny one. The very first time I ever went to Ruth's Chris, I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. And after we had like our appetizers, I remember the waiter coming over and he had this little scraper and he started scraping all of the breadcrumbs off of our table and scraped them onto a plate to clean the table completely before our main meal came out. For whatever reason, I can like clearly remember them doing that. And I went to my mom and dad. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. They just scraped all the breadcrumbs off of the table for us, right? And if you've ever been to a fine dining steakhouse, you've probably gotten some treatment like that as well. Can anybody share maybe an experience that they've had with a business that they just thought like, man, that was really next level experience? And you can either unmute or you can drop it in the chat. And if nobody wants to participate, then my Ruth's Chris example will be all that we get. Don't be shy, guys. Anybody have a next level experience? I'll give you one more while you guys are thinking. And this was actually with Maya Wealth. Shameless plug for Maya. Last June, I got a postcard in the mail from Mr. Frank Silverman, who heads the Maya Wealth program. And the postcard had one of the wealth goals that I had given and submitted Maya at the beginning of the year. And 6 months into the year, I got this postcard that basically said, you know, continue working towards this particular goal. And what was really cool is the next month, I actually accomplished that goal. And I just thought that was really like next level to get this personalized postcard from the head of this program who is highlighting the goal that I set. All right. Okay. So now that we have an overview of we got one. Oh, we got some. Okay. Let me, I'll read some of these. And then Steph, I'd love if you could unmute. Let me read these first. BMW has a lounge with cool coffee machines with espresso, latte, cappuccinos. Yes, I love it. Mercedes-Benz does as well. It's much different than going to a Ford dealership or a Chevy dealership. And I got to admit, I used to have a Mercedes and I loved going to the dealership. Now I have a Corvette and it's a Chevy, and their lounge is not nearly as cool as the Mercedes, right? Rich Carlton, waiter remembered my name and what I ordered the night before, just from the credit card. That's awesome. Restaurant champagne between courses to cleanse the palate. Instant elevation of restaurant value. Love it. Steph, can you go ahead and share yours?
Yeah. So what happened is actually we were going to a convention in Florida, and our old program director made a mistake and didn't book our hotel. So we got to the hotel. It was me and a colleague, and we were going for a martial art convention, and nothing was booked. So the hotel manager came out and said, look, we have a more prestigious hotel chain a block away. We'll give you the same rate. We don't want to lose you as a customer. We're going to give you the same rate. You'll get a suite. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's great. But what took it to another level for me was those room upgrades you see in hotels very common. But once I got into this hotel, it was a completely different format. It was an open table. We sat down. They knew we were coming. The hostess said, "You guys look thirsty. Would you like a beer? Would you like a drink?" I had a Ryan Ginger. My colleague had a beer. And that was the beginning of the experience. So right away, any tension that we had from the misbooking went completely down. Your mindset was completely changed immediately. So those are stories I tell my staff a lot. You mentioned BMW. This is not even my story. This is a friend of mine who went to a BMW on a hot day, 2 kids, young, really in a bad attitude. They gave the kids ice cream. They had a playroom for the kids. The parents were able to sit and have like water and sell a BMW. Like, to me, those kind of experiences are things that I always highlight to my staff, because it needs to be, what separates you is the customer experience.
Absolutely. Great share. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I have seen a couple of martial arts schools, kind of like the larger model schools, implement like coffee bars and protein bars. I don't know if we should do a regular bar, but Chuck E. Cheese does it, right? Chuck E. Cheese has beer and wine. Awesome. All right, great share, guys. So what we're going to do now is quickly identify these different stages, because I'm going to have you do an exercise here in a second, and you kind of need to know what each one is, right? So we have the awareness stage, right? How do we make people aware of our academy, right? Facebook ads is a way to make people aware of your academy. Rack cards in local businesses is a way to make people aware of your academy. Then once they're aware of us, how are we going to maintain their attention and receive their consideration? And, one of the things, it's not just, are they considering us versus our competitor? It's, are they considering us versus other activities? Then how do we get them to commit, right? And this is what our enrollment process, our sales process looks like. And, this purchase really starts at the awareness stage. Next, how do we transition them into being a long-term client? That's the onboarding. That's kind of like that 90 to 100 days. I think it's pretty interesting that most traditional martial arts schools, that white to second belt rank typically happens within this time period. And it's just interesting that a lot of schools do that. Then we have retention. How do we keep their business once the newness runs out? Right? Do we have upgrade programs? Are we doing additional events for them, seminars, parent night out? And then ultimately, how do we get them to become a brand ambassador and a referral machine and or a team member? I posted on Monday, we just hired Araya. She has been a student with me since she was 8 years old. I mean, I think that is the absolute, that's the scenario that we all want as the martial arts instructor, right? This is her when she's 8. Now she's here 14. I can officially pay her. And that's the ideal scenario, I believe, right? Not to say that you can't find instructors online. You absolutely can. And we've had success with that as well. So what I want you to do right now is that through these 6 stages, you're going to need to get a pen and a paper. I want you to rank yourself. Okay. And I want you to either put 1, I'm not doing very well at all, and I'm actually doing a pretty poor job at this stage. 2 is average, 3 is good, and then 4 is excellent. So you're going to write awareness, and then you're going to give yourself a score. And then you're going to write consideration, and you're going to give yourself a score. Purchase, you're going to give yourself a score. Onboarding, retention, and advocacy. So I want you to just take about 60 seconds here. Guys, you have the time put aside to learn. Learning is nothing without action. So let's go ahead and take some action right now, because I need you to know which stage you're scoring the lowest in so that you can have some action steps at the end of today's training. Okay. So those are the 6 stages, and just rank yourself. If you are having marketing lead issues, then you're going to be pretty low in the awareness and consideration stage. If you're getting people in the door, but you're not enrolling at least an 80%, then you're having issues in the purchase stage. If you're getting people canceling and quitting or canceling out their credit cards within those first 90 days, or you're struggling to get them in your upgrade programs, then you're going to give yourself a lower score in onboarding and retention. If you don't have a referral program or it's kind of non-existent, if you're struggling getting your students to the highest ranking belts or into your top tier programs or into your, storm team or leadership team, this is really where advocacy would take place. All right. So just take a couple seconds and score yourself, because this is going to help us give you some action steps at the end. And if anybody is willing, I'd love for you to share which stage do you need the most work in? And you can just drop it in the channel. Maybe it's awareness. You could type in awareness. Is it consideration? All right, Steph says onboarding. Thank you. I see another I had a feeling we were going to see a lot of onboarding. Yes, definitely awareness and consideration. Thank you. Mr. Wolf, advocacy. Yes, Miss Jen, that is correct. Awareness, retention, and onboarding. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, guys. Typically, when I've talked about the customer journey, onboarding usually isn't even on people's minds. It's usually like purchase to retention. For those of you that are really struggling with onboarding, there is a phenomenal book called Never Lose a Customer Again. I would say it's in my top 5 business books that I would recommend, right? Like I'm always recommending the E-Myth, always recommending Traction, always recommending Profits First. Never Lose a Customer is that good of a book. Okay, so if you're struggling with onboarding and retention, I would definitely put that on your reading list. Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so now we know where we're struggling in. Now we know the stage that we need the most improvement. So let's improve that stage through communicating with your clients. And there are actually 7 different ways for you to connect and communicate. And I think you might kind of know this, but you're not looking through the lens of how you can move a customer from one stage to the next through these communication styles. So we've got online and social media, right? Which is a newer form of communication. We've got email. We've got snail mail, which would be anything that goes and gets mailed out or gets printed. I was actually looking at our P&L for GrowPro for 2022. We're spending around $800 to $900 a month in postage just from sending out mail, whether it's welcome cards, whether it's my book, whether it's a welcome packet, whether it's an anniversary or a birthday card. That's, a considerable amount of money for postage for a business of our size, right? Next, you have video. Yes, you can absolutely communicate through video, right? We know old school MIA calls. What about MIA videos, missing in action videos? You've got the good old phone. You have gifts, right? And then we also have in person. Gifting is a form of communication. You better believe gifting is a form of communication. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each one of these stages. We're going to look at awareness and we're going to say, okay, how could we connect with our prospects through these 7 different communication styles? Okay, so this is what the worksheet is going to look like. And I'm going to pull the whole worksheet up. I would have just probably had like 1,000 slides if I would have done it box by box. I'm going to walk you through each box. But what you'll notice in the top left-hand corner is the customer journey stage. So it'll say like awareness or consideration or purchase. And then we'll have each one of the different types of communication experiences that you can have with your prospects or your clients, right? So we'll talk about this is 1 way or 2 ways you can communicate with them through online or social, or through email, or through mail or print. I'm going to give you a crap ton of ideas right now. And what I don't want to happen is for you to get overwhelmed. And the reason why I asked you, which is the stage that you need the most help with, is because that's the stage that I really want your main focus on. And that's why I said it's kind of like a choose your own adventure today. That doesn't mean zone out when we're not on the stage that you need the most help with, but I don't want you to think that you're going to look at these slides, you're going to say, oh, I'm not doing, half of those things, and you need to implement all of them. You don't. You need to implement the ones that are going to help the stage that you ranked yourself the lowest in. If that makes sense, everybody give me a 1 in the chat, and then we will dive into these 7 different communication styles. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Awareness. How do we make more people aware? And I saw quite a few of you say awareness as the stage. So through online and social, we could do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, your Google business profile listing. This is probably one of the most underutilized aspects of online marketing that business owners just aren't using. I had a parent, he's a brand ambassador. His 4 kids train with us. He also trains with us. They're a pay in full family, so 5 members paying in full. They're on our top tier programs, very close relationship with him. And I was at the academy on Tuesday. I bring my son Cruz. He's almost 3, and he refuses to put a gi on. And I'm just hoping it's because he's going to like no gi grappling better than gi grappling. But I'm bringing him to the academy just to get him used to being there. So I was there on Tuesday. And the gentleman that trains came up to me and he said, do you do advertising for financial services? That's the industry that he's in. And I said, no, but I'm part of a mastermind program where there are people that specialize in that niche. I'd love to connect you. I said, shoot me your email or shoot me your website. So he sends me an email and he sends me the website. So I look them up on Google. They don't even have a Google business profile active. All right, which is just, kind of blows my mind. I think this is one of the most underutilized aspects of online awareness. We could do TikTok ads. Your website and the search engine optimization that's built into it will help you gain more awareness. Blogging on your website, utilizing keywords can help you gain more awareness. And local Facebook groups. There are local community Facebook groups for a lot of the major cities in different states that you can belong to. And as long as you're providing value, and if you're ever going to pitch in the group, I would always ask an admin first. But these are all different ways you can gain awareness just from online and social, right? That's one communication strategy. Then we have email. And this is not something that I would recommend in a martial arts industry. This is very common in the agency world to purchase a list and to do cold outreach. How many of you get emails from marketing agencies that you've never heard of that say, do you want to sign up more students? Right? It's a very common practice, but in the martial arts industry, not so much. However, could you leverage lists through partners in education? That could be a possibility. For mail and print, every door direct mail. I don't think this gets talked about enough in the industry. We like using every door direct mailers. You can do this through the United States Postal Office. Just go to USPO.com and you'll look for the every door direct mailers. You can choose the routes that are closest to your school. It'll tell you the demographics of the people. It could get a little pricey because you have to pay for the postage and the printing. However, during the 3 biggest times of the year for marketing, going into summer, coming out of summer, going into the new year, this is something I would definitely consider to do. All right. Putting rat cards in local businesses. Guys, people I just think sometimes really overthink it. Put some rat cards in your back pocket. You go to the local pizza shop, go to the local nail salon, go to the local barber shop. You're going to have better success with mom and pops than with like corporate companies. The corporate company is going to tell you, we've got to ask corporate. You go in and you say, I own a martial arts school right down the road, and we're looking to put local business coupons or advertisements in our welcome packet. Do you have anything I can pass out to our prospects and students? You're basically asking them to market for free. What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say yes. And then the law of reciprocity kicks in. And now you could pull out your rat cards and ask them to put them in the business. Very simple. Okay. Bandit signs, little road signs. Okay. Usually, again, these can get a little expensive. So I like using them, particularly during those 3 pedal to the metal times of the year in the industry. And then banners and flags, right? You can use the feather flags. Amazon for like 40 bucks has feather flags that say martial arts. You will need to replace them just due to weather. And obviously you got to make sure that it's okay to put them out. Okay. You have video. You can leverage video on your website, on your YouTube channel, through doing Facebook Lives, Instagram Reels, and TikToks. Okay. I promised my team I would never make them do a TikTok dance, though. That was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Right. Phone call. Cold calling, again, not something that is ideal in the martial arts industry and other industries. It's very popular. Gifts, belt in a bag. Anybody ever done a belt in a bag? That's a great way to gain awareness. You do it during Christmas. You could sell these belt in a bags. You have your members provide that as a gift to their friends to gain awareness and coming in. And then we have in-person, and this is really where booths, whether you're setting up a booth at an open house, if you are developing partnerships in education and you're doing a sponsorship at a local school, referral events, and buddy weeks. So for all of you that are struggling with the awareness, there are 7 different communication strategies that you can implement to help gain more awareness on your school, okay? We've tried EDDM twice, got 1 or 2. So here's the thing about the EDDM. My recommendation, so you can really track the success of it, is to put an offer that you don't have anywhere else. And, you know, let's say you never do like 30 days free, or you never do 6 weeks for $69 or something like that. Pick an offer you don't typically do. And what that will do is it'll help you track the success of it as well. Just you know, a little trick you can do. Jimmy Mack will come to your place and teach you how to do it. First bandit signs just got stolen. Sorry, Mr. McGraw, it does happen. We like putting them out Friday night and then picking them up Monday morning. This is so code enforcement when they're driving around. They don't drive around on the weekends. They're not going to take them. GrowPro will increase your awareness. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. All right. So for those of you that were struggling with awareness, that's your game plan. Okay. Let's move on to consideration. How do we get people to consider us? Online and social, Google reviews, guys. I just told you the story of the parent. He didn't even have a Google business profile. If you don't have a Google business profile, you don't have Google reviews. Facebook recommendations, relevant content. So putting out educational content in front of them that relates to them. Email. I think that this particular area, email, it has to obviously do with copywriting. I don't think any of us opened our school because we were like, yeah, I want to get really good at writing emails. You're going to have to send emails for the remainder of your time being in business. And now with an awesome new tool that all of us have access to, ChatGPT, it makes writing emails that much easier. I like a minimum of a 21-day follow-up sequence that involves personalization into that email nurture sequence, okay? Having special promotions, right? There's been a couple of times where we've signed up school owners at GrowPro who refuse to have an offer. They just refuse. They say, no, I don't want any special offer. They can come in, I'll show them my prices, and they can sign up on 12 months or not. And you guys, you know, they're usually not as successful because they're not willing to do special promotions. I'm not saying here that you need to like do any crazy discounts, but you know, promotions do matter. And you also need to be considerate on, you know, look at McDonald's, right? Everybody knows what McDonald's is. McDonald's has a different promotion every single month, whether it's the McRib, whether it's the McSalad, whether it's the McFlurry. So you got to make sure because you will hit offer fatigue. Okay. So you do need to consider mixing up your promotions. With mail and print, you know, if somebody came into your school and you got their information, but they didn't purchase a trial, or maybe they did purchase a trial, but they didn't enroll, you can send them a postcard with an incentive to come back in. I think that mail and print is probably one of the most underutilized communication strategies today because we were so heavy into it 20, 30 years ago, and everybody wants to go digital. Think about when you get mail. All the time in your mail, it's just bills. So what if they receive something that wasn't a bill, right? Video, sending a welcome video. This has been one of the absolute best things that we've implemented. We put this in the nurture text message sequence that prospects get. And it's just a video that welcomes them to our academy, shows them the parking lot, the building, who they're going to meet, what expectations they can have when they come in. Because ultimately, if I tell somebody I'm going to do something and then I do it, guess what happens? I just built trust. And guess what you need to get the sale? You need trust. Sending educational content via video. This positions you as an expert, right? Meeting the team. Who am I going to meet? Who can I expect to meet right when I walk into your facility? Personalized videos. If you are struggling with show rates in your academy, maybe you're having a bunch of people book, but they're not showing up. One of the easiest things that you can do is take a 7 or 10 second selfie. Hey, this is Coach Chris. Johnny, I can't wait to see you on the mat tonight for your one-on-one at 3:30. I'll see you then. Takes you less than a minute to send it, okay? Also, putting testimonials inside of your nurture sequences is a really great way to help people commit to the purchase because they get to see that, hey, these other people had a very similar problem, just like I did, and this business was able to help them, okay? The phone. One of the things I'd like everybody to look at is look at what your office hours say on Google Business Profile. One of the biggest mistakes when we do a free marketing audit that we see for school owners is that they only put their class hours on Google Business Profile. So it might say they're only open from 4 p.m. until 9 p.m., but really they can take phone calls from a lot earlier. And if I'm considering picking up the phone and calling you and I go on Google and it says you're closed, I'm not going to call you. And I'm going to go to the next person that's in line, okay? Gifts, doing some form of a free ebook. We send out, I think it's like 10 ways that martial arts builds confidence. When they come in, I know many places will give some form of a, free t-shirt. There's a lot of schools that do free uniform. If you have a lower cost uniform, a free book when they come in. And then in person, really evaluating what that first day experience looks like. I have a podcast called The 7-Figure CEO, and I interview a lot of our Grow Pro clients. And one of them, Mr. Blake Harris, he has a process in place that nobody touches the front door except his staff. He has a large enough school, a large enough staff, a big enough leadership team that they know when intros are coming in, they have somebody ready at the door to open the door for them. When people come into our academy, we have the prospect's name on a little chalkboard. So right when they walk in, the first thing that they're seeing is this welcome message from us to them, right? So really evaluating, what does this first day experience feel like? Is it VIP or is it just another martial arts school? What does your tour look like? What does your sales process look like? Ultimately, familiarity breeds comfort. And this is one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of sending videos out to prospects prior to them coming in, or if they did come in and didn't enroll, continuing to do that, because it's going to make them more familiar with us, which helps to breed that comfort. Okay. So these are some different communication strategies that you can implement for those of you that might be struggling at consideration. Then we have purchase, right? We made the sale. Now what? Are you welcoming them into your Facebook group or on your Facebook page, right? A way to communicate online and social would be to welcome them. I know a lot of martial arts schools have these little signs that say like new student at my school, and they take a picture of them. Super cool, right? Here's the thing. If you're going to implement this, you got to do it for everybody. Can't just do it for one person. Okay. Email. Are you sending a personalized email, or are they just getting, a new client nurture sequence? We send out a personalized handwritten thank you card to every single new member. There are companies that you can you can pay to write these cards, and they basically have like this robot arm that has a pen that will write it out. Guys, this doesn't take longer than 30 minutes. And I think that the the lost art of handwritten thank you cards really go very, very far away in today's world. Okay. A video, a welcome to our family video. We actually have this pinned in the Facebook group for our students. And it also explains like what to expect next. And this is a really great way to move people into that onboarding stage. Phone call. Is there a thank you call? Are you having them download the app? Why is that important? That's a communication channel that you can communicate if you have an app in your school. Gifts. Do you give any swag? I love using forimprint.com. You can get, little wristbands, tattoos. You can get stickers, very cost effective. You buy them in bulk at 100 at a time. These are very small gifts that are probably going to cost you 50 cents that really, pulls people into your brand. And then in person, if they become a new member, are you giving them a shout out in class, maybe at the beginning of class or at the end of class? Okay. So these are some of the things that you can do to communicate better. When we communicate, we connect. And when we connect, it makes the initial conversion and the continuous conversion. Because guys, there's this misconception that you stop marketing once they become a member. You are marketing to your students every single day that they come in so that you remember, so that they can come back another day, right? One of my favorite quotes, they're either one step closer to black belt or they're one step closer to quitting. Okay. Next up, onboarding. I know a lot of you are struggling a little bit in this area, or you want to look for ways for improvement. So here we go. Posting a picture of the student once they hit a certain milestone. I know a lot of schools do board breaking within the first 90 days. Maybe there is a specific part of the curriculum that they need to do. Maybe it's them earning their first stripe, okay, or their next belt. Can you post a picture of them once they hit that milestone? Email, sending testimonials to keep them motivated, okay? I think especially in jiu-jitsu, when we have our new, when an adult signs up for our jiu-jitsu program, they get this new client sequence. It's an email that they get. They get one email a week for the first year that they're with us. And we wrote, they're short emails. These aren't like essays, right? Like 300 words or less. And I think it's probably like the second or third email that they get. So like week 2 or 3, the subject line says, "Are you sore yet?" For anybody that's done jiu-jitsu, for the first time when you start drilling and rolling, you feel like you got hit by a Mack truck. And what's really cool is that these emails are in line with what they're actually feeling. And because of that, they think that like we're sitting there typing that out specifically for them. But being sore, and you guys know, like at the beginning of the year when people are setting New Year's resolutions, they go balls to the wall at the gym. They go that first session and they're going all out, and then they can't walk for the next few days. So we like inputting testimonials in those nurture sequences to show them like, yes, it is difficult in the beginning, but look at this guy who's still in the program. Look at this guy that got his blue belt. Look at this guy that got his purple belt. For mail and print, You Are Awesome cards. We call them You Are Awesome cards. I know a lot of schools call them good job cards, okay? Make sure they're getting something in the mail besides just that welcome card within those first 3 months. Instead of a good job card, you could do a good job video, okay? I think COVID really sped up our industry, which was awesome in terms of people putting their curriculum on videos. If you have a video library of your curriculum, can you let me know in the comments? Like you've got, your curriculum videotape, maybe you have it in an app, maybe you have it on, a website anywhere. Mr. Wolf, that's awesome. Steph, 300 videos. Mr. Suarez, teachable site. I love it, right? I know Market Muscles has a back-end membership portal as well. Working on it. Awesome. Those resource videos, guys, are a great way to ensure that, they aren't just learning when they are there at your academy, they're also taking it home with them, right? On the phone, progress checks, great job calls, right? Oftentimes when businesses are reaching out to clients, it's usually because there's a delinquency or there's something wrong, right? How about training your people to want to pick up the phone because you're calling with positive news, not just, hey, do you want to sign up for this parent night out? Or, hey, your credit card expired. Can I get the new one? Okay. Gifts, books. I actually just bought 180 books of Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time, which I'm going to do a plug here real quick. So I got all of these. These are going out to our clients. And February 23rd, guys, I'm bringing Dan Martell for a free webinar. It's a 90-minute workshop where he's going to be unpacking his Buy Back Your Time book. This is free. I dropped a lot of money to bring him on. And it's just because I think that his message is so important for entrepreneurs. Okay. So just make sure you have that on your calendar, February 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern time. And then in-person sniper chats, right? And progress checks. So progress checks, this is a Maya system that we put in place. I know a lot of schools do like 2-week, 4-week, 6-week calls. Maybe you do a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day call, or excuse me, in-person meeting. Okay. These things need to be implemented in your system so that you can get people from onboarding into retention. Okay. One of the best things that you can do online is a Facebook group, some form of online community. There are other software companies. School is one of them, SKOOL, where you can actually build, like this online community. We just still leverage the Facebook group. I think a lot of schools have a Facebook group, but they don't have systems in place so that there's consistent posting in there and that there's engagement in there. Okay. For email surveys. Okay. I think it's really important to get feedback from your clients. We recently sent we had all of our Maya clients fill out a survey on, what they're struggling with the most. And what I saw was probably about 60% of the answers were staffing. So now our next masterclass for Maya, guess what I'm teaching? I'm teaching the first 90 days of bringing on staff because it's something that people are struggling with, right? Ongoing nurture sequences. Like I said, we have an email that goes out once a week for the first year. In terms of mail and print, you've got birthday cards, anniversary cards, newsletters. We're old school. We still print out our newsletters and hand them to people. I know a lot of people are like, that's like $50. I can just email it. I want it printed because I want it on their refrigerator, which is the place they're visiting very often on a day-to-day basis, right? And then information about your upgrade programs, right? So we have a basic program, an elite program, a master's club program. When you nominate somebody, do you have some form of tangible information that you can hand them, whether that's a nomination letter, whether that's, a sheet that explains the program? Videos, we send out personalized birthday videos to every single student. We record them the last day of the month and then schedule them out through Gmail's Boomerang app. If you are upgrading somebody, is there a video that you send them? So we actually have our upgrade video program sitting on our Market Muscle site. We created these landing pages. So when we nominate somebody, we actually send that link to them. It's branded because it's on our website and it has video information about the program. And then just, congratulations videos. One of the things that I love so much about social media is that if I'm friends with the parents, I get to see what's going on in their life that's not just relevant to the martial arts schools. Okay. Great job calls and progress checks. Same thing as with the onboarding, access to free events or resources, right? So like I said, that membership appreciation day, doing events, spotlighting your students in class, and then just the 3 touch points, right? Every single class, we want to make sure that that child's name, every single child's name, that there's 3 touch points that are occurring. And then finally, guys, and we're almost wrapped up here. I know this is a lot that I'm throwing at you, but again, this was a choose your own adventure on which one you're going to focus on implementing. Okay. So for advocacy, again, highlighting your leadership programs, highlighting your STORM team members. We have different assistant instructor levels. We have this pathway to success that we implemented from CMA. There's a level 1, a level 2, a level 3 when assistants graduate from one to the next. If you have people that are referring, hopefully you have some form of a referral system in place. We use a referral wheel that they get to spin, whatever it lands on. There's cash money, there's pro shop denominations, and then there's also Amazon gift cards, right? Somebody just spun the wheel, take a picture, put it in the Facebook group. Now people are once again noticing what your referral program is. And let me just pause here real quick on this note. Oftentimes, this happens during like the tour or the sales process where we're trying to explain how our programs are so amazing. And a lot of times it turns into word vomit, right? And it's just all of this information, and maybe they're retaining like 5 to 10% of it. So what we want to make sure is that each one of these stages, we are continuing to remind them. You guys know you have a referral program, and you might think, well, I told them about the referral program when they first signed up. They got an email about it. We talked about it at our coaches orientation. That doesn't mean that they're going to remember. All right. It's kind of like with your kids, you have to have it's like the law of 10,000 conversations, right? Kind of the same thing with our clients as well. Just don't assume because you told them once or twice that they're going to remember. Okay. Advocate surveys. Again, I'm big on surveying our students just to get feedback on where we can improve. Spotlighting students in the newsletter. Do you have like a student of the month, right? Handwritten postcards. One of the conversations I'll never forget, it was with my instructor, Mr. Ryan Cook. It was at a Junior Institute of Taekwondo. And once I got my 2nd degree black belt, and I think a lot of schools do drop the ball on this, I felt like I wasn't getting any attention in class anymore. So I went up to my instructor and I said, sir, like I feel like, when I was going up through the ranks, you were helping me a lot. You were giving me things to work on and you were spotlighting. And, now I'm a 2nd degree black belt and I'm not getting that same feedback. And, basically what he said is when you started with me as a white belt, I was gripping your hand very, very tightly. And I've walked you through going up through the ranks. And as you go and got your 1st degree black belt and your 2nd degree black belt, I'm starting to let go a little bit. I get the concept, but still your 2nd and 3rd degree black belts, those are your biggest supporters. If you look at the lifetime value of that customer, it's a lot higher than the person that quit at 9 months. All right. So you really got to make sure you're looking at what are we doing at this advocacy stage. Okay. Personalized video, asking for video testimonials. Who are the best people to give you video testimonials? The ones that have had success within your program. Getting a personal phone call from leadership, right? These small little touches that might not seem that big, but I want you to imagine right now, if your instructor picked up the phone and called you and just asked to see how you were doing, how would that make you feel? Do you have different milestone gifts that they get? You see this often in companies like F45. You see this with Orange Theory, and I think it's a good lesson. For us, sometimes we just look at the belts as milestones. When I go to F45, they have different class attendance milestones. Do you have some form of brand ambassador program where, if they are giving testimonials, if they are referring people, that, they get highlighted for that? And having that really strong referral campaign. Cash is king, guys. All right. That $50 pro shop credit is cool, but I'd rather have $50 in my pocket. All right. And then special events and special training programs specifically for your higher level students. So once again, at the beginning of this training, what we did is we scored ourselves on the stage that we need the most help with. And what your next step is what are the 3 things? Each one of these pages have like 9 or 10, maybe even more different things. I'm not asking you to implement them all. You're going to set yourself up for failure. Pick 3. So if the, awareness stage was the stage that you needed the most help with, you're going to go to that awareness stage and you're going to pick 3 of them that you can implement. Okay. You don't need to try to implement all of them. And that is my action step for you. You took the time aside to take in the knowledge, but we know knowledge and action actually equals power. It's not just knowledge equals power. Those of you that are struggling with these 3 stages, awareness, consideration, and purchase, I want to invite you to do a free marketing audit with my company, GrowPro. I know we've got a lot of clients on here. This link will take you to this page. You just fill out this survey, which will give us some information. And what we'll do is we'll do an audit on your digital marketing presence. Okay. So that's my presentation, guys, right at an hour on the dot. If you have questions, I'll take a couple of minutes for questions. If not, I hope you found value in this presentation. I hope you have a couple of different action steps you can implement, and you're really just starting to look at things through your customer's eyes, because it's been a very long time since probably you were a white belt and you went through these different stages. And, ultimately just remember, like, communication. When we communicate, we connect. And once we connect, then the conversion happens. Right? Oftentimes we're trying to get the conversion before the communication and before the connection happens. All right. As always, we're going to email the recording out, probably come out within the next hour or two. It'll also have the slides on there. So for any of you that wanted the slides, you'll get that before the end of day. Steph, you had a question, sir. Let's hear it. And thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Thanks again for doing this for the community. But so yesterday we had a staff meeting and I was with my program director, and we have an open concept of our gym, like where everything is waist high so that you don't lose the view of the club. And one of the ideas that I have was to have a TV mounted from the ceiling. We have a hanging ceiling, and sometimes what he mentioned was like it would take away, it would seem cluttered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're trying to get that open concept. And I'm saying if it's close to the ceiling and it's on an angle pointing towards the parents. His other comment was just watch the parents. Within their parents, they're on their phone, they're looking down, they're not even looking up. I firmly believe that there are a lot of things like you have the screen cloud programs that we do have that we're not really utilizing. I feel that if it's the TV was pointing towards the parents, not the kids, because they'll get distracted naturally.
Sure.
That we can implement a lot of these things rather quickly, and then in the background build a foundation to put out more into the general public. Kind of internally develop our systems and then externally develop other systems for the general public. What are your thoughts on TVs? Obviously not a 72-inch TV, but a good size that people can read from a distance. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, so Gracie Pack 2.0, we moved in, and it was actually previously a dance studio. And you think of like dance studios and martial arts schools, very similar setups, right? And in the middle was this lobby, and then we had 3 training rooms, and they were separated training rooms that were U-shaped. And we're Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so it had an observation window. But if the kids are on the ground and I'm sitting in a chair, it's very difficult to see what's going on the floor. So that's exactly what we did, is we put a TV and we put a stream into the rooms for them to be able to see it. I think as long as it's not a distraction to your own students, and it's, hung by a professional, so it's not, doesn't look like it wasn't hung by a professional. I think it's a great idea. That is actually, we have chairs. Obviously safety is most important. So for a jiu-jitsu school, I've got to have wall mats all the way around my main training floor. So we have a half wall that separates the lobby and the main training floor. And we have regular chairs, but if you sit in the chair, it's very difficult to see what's going on the mat. So we also have different areas to sit. We have high top tables. We have stadium seating so that you are a little bit higher and you can't see it. So I think it's a great idea. And I wouldn't see, as long as it's put in an area, like you said, that's not distracting to your students, it can help the parents. And yeah, you're always going to have parents, guys. There are parents out there that are using your 45-minute class for them to have some relaxation. All right. Like, I have an almost 3-year-old. I get it now. I completely get it now. All right. But I don't think it's a bad idea at all, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Rosenthal. Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for the content. As always, you over deliver. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So on an app, I heard you mention an app, and we're looking at developing an app. Does Market Muscle, since I'm a Market Muscle customer, do they offer an app? Is it in their CRM or where?
Market Muscles, the website company, does not offer an app for what you are looking for. They have a back-end membership portal that people would be able to access via desktop. What you're gonna see is that the apps are more are typically offered with the CRM. So like Market Muscles, they also have Pulse, which is a CRM. They have an app for Pulse, right? Spark has an app. My Studio has an app. So it's typically the CRM companies that are providing the app. Market Muscles does have that back-end membership portal. They launched that I think it was right at COVID, which was super helpful to put curriculum videos, but it's not an app per se.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And it looks like Kicksite has an app as well. Awesome.
So what platform do you guys have your app on?
We use Pulse.
Okay.
And I mean, Steven Reinstein's my best friend in the whole wide world. So that's why we use
everybody
Pulse
needs an
and Market Muscles.
Buddy.
Yes, absolutely. All right, got a couple more questions here. Suggestions to find a program director, program manager. Yeah, absolutely. It seems that, guys, at every next stage of your business, what is going to be the kind of biggest priority is staffing, right? And with somebody with over 30 employees between two companies, I'm very well versed in staffing, and we've found all of our program directors either through our own network of students and network of families, or through Indeed. One of my, actually, believe it or not, and I think that you got to be careful of like putting people in boxes. I've had 4 program directors over the course of 10 years. The first one was a parent of one of my, of some of our students. That worked out really well. He ended up becoming an after school director. Our next hire, she was with us for, maybe 4 years. She was a bartender. Now, I want you to think about this. Bartenders, they got customer service down. They know how to upsell people, right? You want a single shot? No, give me a double shot of Jameson, right? They know how to deal with people that are being the biggest pains in the butt. She was one of our best program directors ever. And then our current program director that we have now, she was dating one of the students, and she became a summer camp coach and then became an after school coach. And now she's our program director. She's been with me for 6 years now, which has been really, really awesome. So, people, obviously instructor, the ideal situation, start them at white belt. They go through, the ranks, they become a black belt. They, now become an instructor. And that is, like I said, one of the best things as a martial arts instructor is to watch that journey occur. That doesn't mean you can't find instructors online. You absolutely can. It's just going to take more work. It's going to take more training for them. For the agency, we have found great success with Indeed and ZipRecruiter. If you have not used ZipRecruiter, I really like ZipRecruiter. It's a newer platform. Indeed also recently changed their sponsorship. So when you're putting a job offer on Indeed, I highly recommend you boost the job posting. Guys, we have a budget for getting new students. If I told you, if you spent $5,000 on Indeed, you could find a program director that will be with you for the next 5 years, how many of you would spend the $5,000? I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. Like, all right, I'm going to have this person with me, right? If I train them properly. Most of us don't look at finding people and having a budget to find talent and to find rock stars. So I would definitely do Indeed. Indeed, you can boost your job posting for a certain amount of money a day. Like you could say $20 a day, $30 a day. It'll make a suggestion for your particular position that you're looking for. What we have found is program director is very much language that we understand in the martial arts industry, but people outside of the martial arts industry probably aren't going to understand what program director is. So we typically will put something to the effect of membership sales. And I know plenty of schools that have hired, former people that have worked at gyms that have had great success because they have that sales experience. And I think the program director position is very unique because we need them really good at 2 major skill sets. We need them really great at customer service, and we need them really great at sales. And when you think of like much larger companies, those are 2 completely separate roles, right? Like here at GrowPro, I have a sales rep and I have a client success rep. Those are two completely separate roles. So I think it's just a very special position that there is, but I would, put some money behind an Indeed posting, and you got to have, rock solid, new hire onboarding on there. All right. And then I got a personal message, and I appreciate the one-on-one. Somebody asked me if I do one-on-one coaching. Unfortunately, I do not do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching in this manner. This is my email for anybody. Yeah, Miss Jen says, bartenders are used to working nights. Exactly. They're like, man, 2 to 8, that's easy. I was working like 8 to 2 in the morning, right? This is my email. If anybody else has any other questions, if you want to connect, I'm happy to hop on a call, once or twice with you guys if you have questions. If you are looking for consulting, I'm where I'm at because of MAIA, the Martial Arts Industry Association. I don't think there's anybody out on the planet in our industry that's better than them. I think that, they've been around for a while, so some people have a certain specific image of them, but a lot has changed, especially since I came on the team the last few years ago. I know Miss Jen will vouch for that, but go ahead, shoot me an email, guys, and I'd be happy to connect. I appreciate everybody coming on. I appreciate your time, your attention, your participation. Hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you guys February 23rd with Dan Martell. Please be on that. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.